So today I'm talking about something that affects a lot of us, and that's procrastination. The word procrastination actually means belonging to tomorrow. Now in simple terms, we're talking about not getting on with stuff. Mostly the important things that, if you focused on them, would add to your success in business or life, depending on your goals, of course. It's such a biggie for a lot of us business owners because it doesn't matter how talented we are. If we're putting things off, we're keeping ourselves and our businesses small, and we don't want that, do we? Procrastination is the mother of all avoidance techniques, and today I want to check in with you about the sort of procrastinator you might be and share 6 ways to help you stop putting those important tasks off. Let's start getting things done. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time I post a new video about building a visible business. As business owners, we can get so overwhelmed with the number of things on our to-do lists. And when this happens, we can fool ourselves into thinking the simplest decision to make is to ignore it and do something else instead. Now, this something else could still be related to your business, but be much easier or fun than the tasks you know you should be getting on with. Admin is always near the top of the list as a good procrastination task, as is rearranging your desk space or office, which is my personal favourite. Or we employ displacement behaviours such as walking the dog, ironing, watching TV or going for a run. Now these distract us and stop us from thinking about that to-do list. And of course, at the time, they feel like important tasks. But when was ironing really that important? Never, in my book. I'm not an ironer. It's a fact that the more you procrastinate, the worse you feel about yourself, your business and your life. You could experience feelings of negativity, remorse or guilt. And when this happens, often the default setting is to procrastinate even more. What you've then got going on is the perfect feedback loop. You procrastinate and then regret it, which makes you procrastinate even more. And then you regret it again, and you procrastinate even more. And on it goes. It just repeats and repeats and repeats. Basically, we don't get anything done. Now, before I talk about overcoming procrastination, I want to help you find out what sort of procrastinator you are. By doing this, you'll be able to pick out the right strategies for you and what you do when you're procrastinating. Now, I think there are 5 main types of procrastinator, and I'm going to go through each one here. I'd love to know if you can identify yourself. Put it in the comments what you think you are. It'll be really interesting to see what everybody is as far as procrastinating goes. Now, I'll identify my type for you when I get to it, when I'm talking about the particular one. Now, number 1 is the perfectionist. Being perfect is the pleasure that perfectionists crave, but often this leads to them being too scared to show any imperfections at all. None. They give themselves such a hard time. They frequently fail to complete things as they're forever seeking the perfect timing or approach and spend far too much time on minor details, just going over and over again. So tasks are never completed because in the eyes of the perfectionists, they are never perfect enough. They're just not good enough. Perfectionists get caught up in the never-ending cycle of additions, edits and deletions. Then number 2 is the ostrich. An ostrich prefers to stay in the dreaming stage, head in the ground type of stuff. By doing this, they don't have to do any real work or deal with any negativity or stress. Dreaming away gives them a false sense of achievement, as in their minds they envision big, ambitious plans. But unfortunately for them, these plans will most likely stay as dreams. It's a bit sad really, that it's all there in the head, but they just can't get on with it. Now number 3 is a self-saboteur. This type of procrastinator has bought into the line that by doing absolutely nothing, bad things won't happen. In reality, they've developed a fear of making mistakes or doing anything wrong. And then their way to avoid these mishaps is to do nothing at all, which is a surefire way to get nowhere. Now number 4 is the Daredevil Procrastinator, and this one is me. Daredevils are those who believe that deadlines can push them to do better work. But actually what happens, instead of them having a sensible plan to complete the work, they prefer to enjoy time doing their own thing, only really thinking about what needs to be done for work, for business, as the deadline looms. Basically, the pleasure seekers. They much rather be doing things that they enjoy than getting on with the work. It's believed that starting early will sacrifice their time for pleasure. This thought, of course, is cemented by the many times they've got away with leaving it all to the last minute. Often, though, they sacrifice the quality of their work when they do this and completely stress themselves out as well. Now, number 5 is the chicken. Chickens don't like to prioritise. They do what they feel like they should do rather than having a plan. Prioritising tasks is a step that takes extra time, and a chicken can't see the point. But by not having a plan, they end up putting a lot of time into tasks that actually don't contribute much to the project at all. They're so busy on low impact tasks, they seem oblivious to the urgent, high impact ones. So now you know what type of procrastinator you are. Here are some strategies to help. Firstly, have a think about re-clarifying your goals. Much of the time, procrastination tendencies form simply because we've outgrown our goals. We've decided we want more, we want something else. So in this instance, take time out of the working day and ask yourself what you really want to achieve. Have your goals changed? What steps do you need to take next to get you back on track? Is what you're currently doing reflecting what you want to do? Is it leading you towards the life you want to have? What do you need to change now and in the future? Now write the answers to these things down, scribble them out, rewrite them, and keep going until you're happy with your new focus. This strategy can be really good for perfectionists. The next thing to think about is to do the difficult tasks first. Even if you feel you're not a morning person, the beginning of the day is when your brain is most productive. So why not use this window of time to get the most difficult stuff done first? If you leave them till later in the day, you're much more likely to put them off because you're tired, you lack motivation, you need something to eat. Finishing lots of simple tasks at the beginning of the day, such as reading all the new emails, only gives you a false sense of being productive. Get stuck in with the toughies, the things that really need doing, the stuff that needs your brain power, then you can do the simple things as the day goes on. This is a great strategy for the ostriches amongst you. Next, think about writing out a to-do list and a not to-do list every day. This is good for the self-saboteurs. Writing things down is powerful and psychologically increases your need to get things done. Create a new habit of making a list of the tasks you know you'll try and avoid, because this helps to bring them into focus really, these difficult tasks. And instead of keeping them locked away, you can bring them to the front and stop ignoring them. Just think about how satisfying and productive it feels to cross things off your to-do list. Use that to spur you on. Next, I'm going to talk about deadlines. I know it's really common to have a deadline for a goal, but when you do that, it's basically an open invitation for procrastination. I'm a daredevil, and I know if I've got a hard deadline, I'll probably leave things till quite late in the day, till that deadline is really upon me before I start getting any meaningful work done. Now, the problem with creating deadlines for the goals that we have to achieve is that they are a self-created deadline. There's no real pressure from anywhere else except from us. So we tend to justify just pushing it back and pushing it back every time it comes into sight. So what can start as a deadline for just a few weeks' time can end up stretching out for months and months because we just keep pushing it back. We think, we haven't done enough yet, we'll just stretch that deadline a bit more. We haven't really got that external pressure to make sure we get it done. Now, I know this to be true as I'm much better at managing deadlines set by someone else. So for instance, if I'm writing a feature for a magazine, somebody will have set a deadline for me and I have to hit it, and then I usually can. I wouldn't chance my reputation on missing a deadline for anything. So what I suggest here is that you create a timeline for each project that you have to finish and establish deadlines along this timeline. So you may have many deadlines over the life of a project, but the beauty of this is that the deadlines usually have to be completed before you can move on, so one's dependent on the next, and that keeps you on track and accountable for staying in line with the overall timeline. Then next on the list is breaking tasks down into bite-sized pieces, which is ideal for the chickens. A lot of the time procrastination comes from overwhelming thoughts. If something feels too big to tackle and we don't know where to start, we just struggle. If our goal is too vague and lacking direction, we can also get stuck before we've even got started. So try breaking these larger tasks into a series of smaller ones and turn them into daily or weekly goals. This might seem like a slower approach, but because of the momentum you get going, you'll find that tasks actually get done quicker. Then finally, think about batching your work, and this is good for all types of procrastinators. It's not a new strategy, but it's still very effective. Batching your work means you work on one task or a number of tasks of the same type for a longish period of time. This is generally around 3 hours, although I do suggest you take a mini break of about 10 minutes every 50 minutes or so. Grab yourself a cuppa and have a breather. The theory behind batching is that it takes 23 minutes for your brain to fully switch from doing one task to focusing on another, different task. But by working on the same type of task for, say, 3 hours, you're giving yourself the best chance of success as your brain is fully switched on and focused. Also, it gives you an endpoint, a cut-off time, which should keep you motivated. And then, at the end of those 3 hours, embrace the glee as you cross tasks off your to-do list. So there you have it. You should now know what sort of procrastinator you are, or have some idea anyway, and have strategies to help you get moving. If you haven't joined my Facebook group yet, the link to do so is in the description below. It's called Build a Visible Business, and you can expect more training, insight and support once you're in there. I look forward to welcoming you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next vid.